Hi Aquarius, welcome to your reading. Aquarius will start having eclipses on your critical axis of home, family and career starting from 19th of November. This is a 2-year process that is getting kick-started, which you last experienced only back in 2003 and 2004. This will bring about structural changes to your career as well as your place of living and your family structure. You're letting go a traditional structure of your career and home and family to give way to what suits you better moving forward to your growth. And you'll find that if the balance between the career and the home and personal life was tilted in one direction, you'll have to release and get that balance back in some ways. In some ways, the traditional careers or the old career or the old way of handling career will give way to a new kind of career or a completely different career path altogether in 2022 and 2023. You'll be working towards that starting from November itself, when we'll see some critical changes and critical decisions coming ahead of you in terms of your career as well as your place of living. This is coming at a time when you have been under a process of reconsideration when it comes to a leap of faith that you're about to take. We'll talk about both the short-term decision that you're about to take as well as the long-term thread of Saturn Jupiter in your sign, initiating a new structure of your future growth and abundance moving forward. I'll leave the timestamps in the comments for you to access specific portions of the reading. My aim is that you can use this reading all the way till 2023. My name is Charu. I'm your host on this journey. Let's dig in. Aquarius, for the last 3 weeks, Mercury has been retrograde in your house of adventure. This normally happens once in 6 years when we are about to take a bold call when it comes to a future expansion. Normally a career-related expansion or a relocation-related expansion or an education-related expansion or a way for us to share our higher knowledge with another. Those kind of projects, they undergo major decision making during this time. You also had Mars, the planet of drive, go through its rebirth for the first time since 2006 in your house of adventure. So if the mundane and the daily work and the pressure of the job or the career or the home has in some way jaded your sense of adventure, this cycle gives you back that sense of adventure. That sense of adventure to take a leap of faith for your future growth is being given back to us because an important decision or an important threshold normally is reached in our career life, in our public life, where in order for us to grow any further, something has to give way to a new way of being when it comes to our knowledge, when it comes to our influence, when it comes to our self-expression. And over the course of last couple of weeks, you would have revisited all of them, especially your belief system, whether your belief system, your philosophy, the amount of limitation we place on how much risk we take on our expansion, that has gone through some amount of reconsideration in my view over the course of last couple of weeks. It's also the time when we reconsider if we have tapped into all our relationships and mentors and influences to see if there is a scope to grow further going forward, especially if you are looking to relocate in terms of your location of living, or if you want to go for a course or an expansive role in your career or a shift in specialization when it comes to your career. We tap into our past influences or we tap into all our mentors and other supporters in some ways to figure out if there is a way to move forward and shift our philosophy in life or shift our long-term goals in life. This is a critical threshold, a critical turning point, which is coming with Mercury now going direct on 18th of October, where our life takes a different turn when it comes to how we expand going forward. Not only our psychological philosophy goes through a rebirth, but the actual skill sets that we use to grow further is going through a rebirth. And you'll find that if you have missed tapping into any knowledge center or any resource, a mentor, a foreign friend or a guru, now you'll need to find yourself going after them to figure out how to go further. You might be even retraining yourself or looking at a way to go for a foreign assignment which can essentially expand your knowledge. The aim is to expand your influence, expand your knowledge, and move away from something mundane in nature which has jaded you in some ways or limited you in some ways. Your whole life belief system in some ways is going through a refresh over here. This is also the belief that we have in our capabilities and in our life's flow that is reinvigorated. If we have been jaded that we are not living the life on our own code or on our own terms in some ways, we retake a step. We go back a step to start with and then move forward in a different direction altogether, where life is lived on our own ethics code as well. So it's possible that you may not just be rereading some publication or looking to edit some publication or proofread some written material or looking to go for a new course or retake some amount of examination or meet some old mentors and influencers to figure out where you want to go. You are retapping within yourself to feel that is that the direction I truly want to go in going forward? And that will be the impetus, in my view, of a directional career shift which will come with the lunations in November. In November, we have a new moon happening in your house of career, which is a little bit of a surprising new moon. It is coming with an aspect of Uranus, which means that there will be a wild card element to it, which is especially for 13 degree of Aquarius. The new moon of 4th of November, which is happening in your house of career, which will bring a new beginning, a new phase, and a critical decision related to your career to forefront, is in my view greatly influencing 13 degree of Aquarius especially, which is around 4th of February born, 3 days before, 3 days after, 3 degrees before 13 degree, 3 degree after. This could be a life-changing decision in my view for these specific degrees, though for all of you this new moon infuses a fresh energy, a fresh impetus to change our direction in career and to let go a traditional work career path to go for something new. And this will have an impulsiveness embedded into it, some amount of detachment from traditional perspective to go for it. You're going out of your comfort zone to do this, and because of that you had to take a step back, in my view, for the last couple of weeks to decide over it. You were probably about to take a leap of faith, and in order for us to do that, we first have to examine with our own influences and our own value system and proofread to some extent whether this is something we truly want to go for. And if life, as I said, has jaded you in the past, this is something which will shake things up. It could just be purely a travel, a foreign assignment, an assignment which is away from where you're working right now, or it could be an assignment where you work with people who are culturally very different from you. This is an adventure, this is an education, this is an expansion of your mind, which could come through either going for a formal studies, legal studies, art studies, educational decision that you're taking, or a career decision which expands you, which could be foreign affairs, international affairs, foreign contacts, foreign contracts, teaching, publication, public speaking. A lot of public speaking, in my view, could be involved in this career or in this profession, where media, being in front of people, advertisement, consulting could be a critical part of your life path, in my view. And your mentors, your relationships at work will become very important during this time. And there is a shift which will happen, in my view, over the course of next 2 years in your place of living as a result of that. It would depend when your degrees will be specifically activated, both by Uranus and the eclipses, as to when specifically the change in home, family, place of living comes. But we do have that opportunity for 27 degree Aquarius with the 19th of November eclipse. 19th of November eclipse is the first eclipse of the decade, which is happening in your house of home, family and place of living, and it will come with the closure of a traditional way of being in your personal life, a traditional way of deriving safety in your life, which is not letting you take bolder steps when it comes to to your career, when it comes to your external life. For all of you, this is letting go of a past emotional pattern when it comes to how we handle our career and how we show up in terms of our image at career, as well as our relationship with authority figures, as Uranus is asking you to take a step, a cardinal step, which is in different direction from what you have been doing traditionally in your career, or how you have handled authority of your life. And it doesn't have to be career authority. This is authority in general of your life. It could be how within the family the equation is, who is the head of the family and who is in some ways the authority figure in family. This could be your relationship with the dominant parent in your life as well. In my view, a very core part of your emotional impulses when it comes to what you call home, what you call safety, that is shifting. The ground on which we build our life is shifting, and this process will continue for the next 2 years as nodes change sign in January of 2022. The full process, the full extent of this process, even for 27 degree of Aquarius, in my view, will only come from January 2022. This might be a decision that might be coming for many of you in terms of, do I live here, a real estate matter coming for reconsideration, a parental decision coming for a decision. This is something which traditionally used to be a different choice for you, and you're taking a view away from that traditional choice. This is especially true, as I said, for 27 degree of Aquarius, which is around 17th of February born Aquarius Sun. 3 days before, 3 days after, 3 degrees before and after 27 degree of Aquarius. We'll have to leave. To me, this moment is like right before when you let go the hold on a railing or on a harbor and you are going into some, I would say, choppy waters, because these are critical changes. They will take you out of your comfort zone. They will take you out of safe harbor, because you're taking certain leaps of faith, and it will take you away from seemingly what used to give you safety. And you'll have to fight your own inner fears, your own inner demons to get there. And you'll find that fight come very visibly, in my view, over the course of next couple of days in October itself. On 22nd of October, as well as 1st of November, you'll find that there is a fear that has been blocking your self-expression, and your sense of adventure needs to be faced with. Sometimes there's a hidden information as well which comes to light, which was blocking the progress forward in your expansion, in your self-expression. There's sometimes a person, a hidden enemy, or a critic who was blocking the progress when it comes to an expansive change in our career, or change or blocking our ability to, say, publish our work, go forward and move residences, legalize in a different country, speak with somebody very relevant. Somebody was blocking that, and that sometimes comes to focus, and you'll find this very visually, in my view, on 22nd of October and 1st of November. This is especially true if you have planets around 24 degree of Aquarius, which is around 14th of February born. This is a process which you'll have to fight within yourself, because there is some part of your subconscious that is blocking your self-expression, and it's possible that you might have to fight that demon to move forward, having more faith but not practicing it, having a lot of need for adventure and setting free, yet not closing an old chapter of your life, craving to travel, yet fearing the travel, fearing a setback, fearing a health issue in travel, that, or wanting to go for an education but fearing what you'll have to give up for it, that coming to focus, wanting to relocate, wanting to move to a different country, wanting to work on a foreign assignment, wanting that adventure that, as I said, you feel jaded that you've not got that adventure back in your life, yet fighting something within yourself, having more faith to break through. That is required right now, and you'll be pushed in some ways, in my view, to see beyond what you have right now. You'll be pushed in some ways to see beyond the existing limitations, to see what's possible for you to move forward. There's a lot of inspiration here. It will need expression. You'll have to show in some ways what you see. It's possible that you might need to convince somebody about what you see. This aspect to me points to the fact that you see something beyond the current moment, but you'll have to use that to show to others who don't see it right now. It could be somebody in your home and family who you need to convince, or it could be somebody who's very much stuck in the reality of the moment. It sometimes is us, but to me it looks like an external person. You're fighting the mundane with the adventure that you crave. So it could be an actual conflict sometimes with a person where the logical thinking will have to be balanced with a sense of adventure. You'll have to show people what you see. If you see something more expansive than the current moment is showing people, sometimes it's purely a publication. You want to take an adventurous step when it comes to your career, and for that, people don't see that happening at this stage. They're being conservative about it, and you'll have to fight that pattern. And for that, first you have to be very sure about that vision. You have to become very sure about having faith in the dark when something is not yet shown. And self-expression and our ability to go after it might be blocked because we have not yet developed enough faith in it. There's going to be need not just for the height, but the depth in your vision. You want to scale the heights, but the depth is the faith in that vision that needs to be deepened. And through this conflict, in my view, you'll get more depth in the vision that you have. There's higher understanding of your own life's goal, which is developed through an internal struggle, in my view, that you'll go through. But what will also happen along with this is that there's a lot of inspiration, but the physical expression also needs to be done. On 20th of October, we have a full moon, which is a very bold cardinal full moon, which will push you to express your vision. While we have been thinking about taking a leap of faith, but the physical expression of it, as I said, a lot of inspiration, but what is the physical form of it? In my view, you'll be pushed to physically express your vision. It could be a speaking assignment, it could be a writing assignment, it could be that something you need to market, sell. You need to bring something home when it comes to a communication or a commercial deal. It could be an actual project or a deal or a transaction that you've been working on, which is coming for a critical closure. It could be a contract that you've been working on. Now you've had that bigger picture. Now we need to get to the nitty-gritty, in my view, of that. And this 20th of October full moon will push you to use all this creative thinking and the skills and the imagination and the inspiration, and it will push you to hone that and put that down into words, put that into a document, put that into a contract, and it might push you to take small steps. Like we have a big vision, it will push you to take the first step towards that vision, and that will become, in my view, the gateway to the larger change that you're looking for. It could be a short journey, it could be a document you need to do, it could be a contract, it could be just going for a small skill set or a commercial deal, going for a self-development step, closing something despite the fears, closing something despite the critics, closing something despite the limitations you've been feeling within yourself is, in my view, the theme of this full moon. And it can come with a little bit of sacrifice. This full moon is coming with a sacrifice, in my view. The sacrifice could be that you need to close a chapter, you need to let go an old chapter, an old commercial success needs to be given way to a new expansive vision that you have, an old mundane goal needs to be given way so you can make way for something which is bigger for you, more appealing to you, more fulfilling to you. This is something you're going for which you have faith on, blind faith on in some ways, and you'll have to fight your fear for it, you'll have to fight your commercial side to some extent for it, but you'll have to balance the practical and the expansive side, which means that you cannot just have a vision 20,000 feet. You will be pushed to put that vision into something of a practical value. It's possible that you need to sell somebody that vision that you have, and the fear of public speaking, the fear of speaking up, fear of self-expression in some ways needs to be overcome to get there. You'll need some alone time, in my view, to study, to work, to get through, to publish this written matter. And it's possible that you've already gone through that cycle of isolation, but in order to get that commercial success along with the expansion that you're looking for, you might need to go into isolation for a little bit and finish this. You might need to balance the activity, the hyperactivity that will come over the course of next 2 weeks with some time alone to balance that. Now, this is happening against a long-term transit of Pluto in your 12th house. Pluto has been in your hidden house, in your house of hidden, since about 2008. Pluto is the planet of transformation. Wherever it goes, it digs deep over there and brings out whatever is hidden in that place. So when it goes into your house of subconscious, everything that is hidden deep into your subconscious starts coming out in focus. And we have been over years of this transit, and now we are towards the last 2 years of this transit before Pluto comes in your sign starting from January of 2024, which will be a major life transit for you. You'll start feeling that from 2023 itself. It's a very rare transit. Pluto coming in our sign is an extremely rare transit because it has a 260 plus years of cycle. So most of the signs have never experienced having Pluto in their zodiac sign, but because you're Aquarius, you're meant to experience it, and it's going to be a complete external, very visible rebirth for you. When this happens, it's a very powerful cycle. When Pluto comes in our sign, we have to own our authority visibly. It becomes a very, very powerful, physically very powerful a cycle for you, as well as a complete rebirth of your life path, your relationships that corroborate with it. But as a precursor to that, in these 2 years leading up to Pluto coming in your sign, you will see a major purge of any weakness in your psyche. And for that, we'll have to own all elements of our psyche, whether we see the dark side of us or the light side of us. There is no real dark side of us. These are drives which are labeled dark when we are in younger years, or when we don't have those kind of inhibitions to show our ambition, our need to own our own resources, our need to show that we are aggressive or we want what we want. These are drives which are healthy as well. These are drives of standing up for oneself. These are drives to show what you're made of in some ways. And those have got buried over time, and you have to find your drive back. And these 2 years will be very important for you to find those deeper drives back for you, because those very complexes, which we believe are complexes, those are very much the force that drive us. They're buried below these jewels, these drives, both the healthy as well as what is labeled as negative drives. They're all hidden together in our subconscious. And because of fear of what we would become if we let those drives free, we subconsciously suppress them. And Pluto will not have that. Pluto is truth time. Everything that is hidden below the surface starts coming out. And whether we, in a very healthy fashion, channel it, or we wait for a trigger to trigger us into that complex, is our choice in some ways. And this is something that we do have control over. Pluto, when it comes in our 12th house, there are a lot of things which are not in our control, because this is the house of God's timing in some ways, or higher powers timing. So you have been in that process since 2008. A lot of events, especially loss that happens in our life, a lot of that, in my view, is not in our hands. And I'm a firm believer in our own ability to make things happen despite what's happening in our life. But with Pluto being in this kind of position, I've normally seen there are situations which happen, especially related to loss and people going out of our life, which are completely out of our hands, and they happen. We are asked to let go some amount of control over events and have faith despite that happening. Have faith in our ability to come out of any kind of loss. But we do have control over not trying to stop the process, which is what I'm trying to tell you. Don't try to stop the process. Find a healthy outlet of the drive. You have to own the impulses that you have within, and you'll find that moment of honesty comes very often when Pluto goes direct, as it's doing right now. So when you face the struggle of self-expression, of not speaking up when you need to speak up for yourself, in a conflict when you want to say something because that is, in all honesty, what you want out of a situation, and you're not speaking it. Know that you're suppressing your drive. Know that you willingly are telling your drive to die down in that moment. And then that drive will come through its own methods and modes, which may not be healthy. So the fear of showing up in all your strength is something that you have to overcome here. Let the drive show up in a positive fashion. Let your ambition show up in a positive fashion. Give it an outlet. It's inevitable that there will be breaking down of existing patterns. It's part of Pluto's process, that there will be some amount of letting go which will happen. Pluto is purge. As I said, there will be events out of your control of loss, which will happen unfortunately when Pluto is here. And because we have already been through a very long process of it, starting from 2008, you've gone through many cycles in my view of that. We are now in the last 2 years of it, when we are supposed to rise above the surface, above all of that we had to let go, above the fear of loss, above the fear even of death. Sometimes we have to face the fear of death itself. And that fear of death is detoxed sometimes unfortunately through a loss. And having gone through that process, in my view, you've already possibly gone through that process. We are in the last 2 years of it. Now those existing patterns which have been let go, now the new patterns start forming in place of that, which are more powerful. So now that all that inner re-engineering was happening when Pluto was retrograde since April, now it's going direct. We have to now go live with something. We have to show that we have handled those complexes. We accept the dark and the light side of us. We accept the Pandora's box that we found within ourselves and release some kind of unconscious complexes which have to be directed now to rebuilding a personality which you'll use for the next chapter of your life. And your next chapter of your life, in my view, this is the year, 2021 is the year when that next chapter is starting. You have Saturn, your ruler, in your sign this year. You have Jupiter in your sign this year. These are rare moments when Saturn and Jupiter together are in your zodiac sign. It's a once in 300 years event. So we are never going to experience this kind of moment again in our lifetime, when a new structure of our external growth is being seeded, is being born right now. So the unconscious complexes which come in the way of you doing it, the boogeyman within us and the demons within us which blocks it, we'll have to let go of that to rebuild a new personality, a new physical existence for us. We would need to actively sometimes search for our weaknesses, our blockages, our hidden chapters of past which are not letting us embrace the future. So you would go through those episodes, in my view, and you'll have to deeply analyze your own motivations in these struggles when it happens, instead of just accepting the current moment. We normally don't want to introspect every act because it just makes life very difficult. But when Pluto is over here, we are meant to dig deeper into our own motivations of doing something. It's like a person with Pluto in the 12th house, we do something, but there will always be a deeper motivation behind it. And they are required with this transit to dig deeper into, because it will affect them in future in a very big fashion if they don't. Like if something happens in your family and you physically respond to that, something physical in you responds to it, like getting hurt or feeling sick, there is a pattern within you of wanting to not have that fight in your family, which is ingrained from a very long period of time, which is waking you up and saying, I don't like conflict. I don't like when I have to face a situation in which I have to take sides. Those kind of patterns which are well ingrained for a very long period of time, and they cannot be part of the new personality that is being born with Pluto coming in your sign, because everything that is hidden will come to the surface when Pluto goes in your sign. There is no privacy when Pluto comes in your sign. Everything that is going on within you comes outside. It is shown on your face. It's shown in your external expression. So we have to deal with unconscious, and the issue with Pluto over here is that it's not just your own demons that you deal with. It is not as simple as that. It is the collective unconscious that you have to deal with as well. We become sensitive not just to what is within us, we also become sensitive to what is dark outside of us in terms of the collective. What is wrong with the collective in some ways, that starts also getting purged through us. The first thing I've normally seen over here is that the pattern that is purged is not just ours. The pattern that is purged is normally ancestral. This is a pattern which is inherited. Pluto has a quality of being passed on. The qualities, aspects of Pluto, the actual chart that we have, the birth chart that we have of Pluto aspects, they are ancestral sometimes. If your father or your mother had a moon which was Hd's moon, which means that Pluto moon had an aspect, Pluto sun had an aspect, you'll find that those aspects are passed down across generations and they stay in a particular line of family for generations till somebody finally decides to purge that pattern. And every generation gets that opportunity to purge that pattern of the past. This could be, for example, purging anger issues. I'm just giving an example. It doesn't have to be that all Aquarius have a history of anger issues. Too far from it. But I'm just giving an example that this is a pattern which is ancestral. Not liking a certain kind of behavior or being oppressed by a certain caste system or by a certain race, and that has crossed generations, making you subconsciously not like somebody. You will find that the pattern that you're fighting within yourself, which is deemed as demon, is not your own. Sometimes it is passed on through generations, but you are given the opportunity with Pluto in your 12th house. You are that generation that has the opportunity to purge that ancestral pattern. That is the karma. That is the karma in my view of Pluto becoming in your 12th sign, in your 12th house, which is a rare transit to have, because Pluto has a very long transit. As you can see, it will be in your sign from January of 2024 to 2044. So for 20 years you would have Pluto in your sign, and you've had Pluto in your 12th house since 2008 altogether. This is a long transit. This is a transit that many people in your ancestors, in your generations, have never had it, but you do. And because of that, you carry that collective shadow of your ancestors, where a ancestral pattern, in my view, will come for release. But that is not the only thing. This is Pandora's box. You find the positive with the negative. The ancestral strength is as well over there. The qualities, your ancestors, for example, if they wanted to express themselves, they had a talent which was passed on over generations. You are being given in some ways the power to use all of those collective talents and express them. When you go out to express yourself, when you go out to do something in your career, know that the power behind it is not just your own. There are many generations of your ancestors who have worked to get you where you are, because through each of those generations they have changed a pattern of not expressing themselves, not owning their creative talents, not owning themselves in a crowd. Those kind of things, every generation has fought that pattern for you to get where you are, and now you carry that responsibility as well as the qualities that have come through generations to you. That's why the current moment just cannot be about the current moment with Aquarius, in my view. You have to make sense of every action sometimes by overall what is subconsciously driving you and affecting you. Especially when you see a pattern of behavior, you're required to analyze that in some ways with this aspect. And that's one way to hunt versus getting hunted. You hunt your patterns, you find your weaknesses, you find what blocks you, versus that weakness suddenly showing up in a moment of self-expression, in a way of your commercial success, in a way of you being more effective when it comes to your commercial and communication skill set. You'll find that you'll have to deal with all of those with your own introspection. And in this moment, if you can afford it, if you are open to it, therapy or talking to somebody or dream analysis of your own patterns, it can do immense benefit to you. It can bring immense benefit to your professional life and your commercial life. but careful what takes you over. What takes you over will not be a driver purely from the current moment, is what I'm trying to say. Use it to purge, use it to purge, use it not just to purge your own patterns, but the pattern of institutions, traditions that don't work anymore, that have been passed over years, but you know that they are not of future anymore. And you'll find over the course of next 2 years, some sort of ancestral pattern would be exited by you. We're having the kind of eclipses you're about to have over the course of next 2 years. There are changes in the home and the family structure which you will create by your own initiative in some ways, which will create a new pattern for your future generations of growth. And in some ways, you'll be fulfilling the dreams of generations through your initiatives. Unconsciously, you'll become the source of evolution of the collective, especially of your own ancestry and of your own generations and of your own line going forward. You'll need some time to work through all of this. That's where having so much of busyness of the mind that you're going to have over the course of next couple of weeks, you'll find that you'll need moments to take yourself away from the busyness, to take care of your emotional complexes and what is coming through beyond the practicalities. But this gives you immense power to change any crisis, any ending into a powerful new beginning, any suffering, any pain, any loss into a source of rebirth. You evolve when Pluto is here through some ending, through some loss, through some amount of suffering in this time, which is inevitable, unfortunately, while Pluto is here. And I know many of you have already gone through it over the course of last couple of years, but it's the opportunity to identify as well as overcome finally an inner weakness which has blocked you and your generations for many, many years. The fears that are exited, they are life-changing for your future generations and for the collective. Unconsciously, you're unblocking the way for many by doing what you're about to do. And the more you'll try to block it, you'll feel heavy inside. It's like a purge which has to be done. And it will also come with some amount of secrets coming out. If there is something which we've been having behind the scene, you have to be careful. While Pluto is here, Pluto purges everything. Deceptions and secrets, whether they are of yours or of somebody else in your life, they start coming out. But you have the power to make the change, exit anything out of your life. So if a deception happens or a secret enemy is shown, in some ways they go away. We have the power of not even doing anything. And if somebody is our opponent, especially a secret enemy who's been harming you while you did not know about it, they get the karma of their life in some ways. This is you got to be careful of being an enemy of Aquarius with this, because if even the people who might have a negative intention, in my view, against you, they do suffer with Pluto here. Pluto is very psychologically very powerful. Somebody even having any negative intention towards you can accumulate a lot of negative karma, and you'll see that you'll actually learn the art of not needing to fight any enemies. You'll see that they are taken care of in terms of their own karmic cycle instead of you fighting it. And we gain this power over our secret enemies and our own complexes in the ways which we would have never imagined. This gives you immense faith, immense conviction in the natural flow of life, which you did not have before. The natural conviction, the conviction over the natural flow of life, and the fact that we are beyond an individual, the thread that connects all of us in some karmic way, that gets so viscerally acknowledged with Pluto over here like never before. So that was Pluto cycle, which will extend all the way till January of 2024, after which we'll have Pluto in your sign. The planet of power, rebirth, will be moving into your sign. We'll talk about that more in detail in another time. Let's talk about the last thing that I want to say, which is Saturn and Jupiter. They are also going direct in your sign finally. So all the growth and the restructuring that was happening behind the scene, especially related to your expansion of your life path, now can finally start moving direct. Jupiter is in your sign for the first time since 2009. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. When it completes the cycle and comes back in a sign, that year is the time when the career path and the opportunity, we are meant to expand that. We are meant to expand our career. We are meant to expand our external experience in life. The very frame with which we look at life, it changes, which means that we become more knowledgeable about what we want, as well as our presence and power, as well as associations, leadership style expands enormously in that year. So 2021 in some ways could have been parallel of 2009, but it was much more than that. Beyond expansion of your goals, beyond expansion of your career, life path, ambition, as well as some amount of powerful associations that you might have formed this year. What has also happened this year is that Saturn was also in your sign. So this was one of those rare years when it was not just Jupiter in your sign expanding your career and your external persona and public image, but Saturn asking you to rebirth your external identity, your title, define who you are. Having Saturn, your ruler, in your sign, which happens once in 29 years, is a major life transit. While Pluto impacts us psychologically, Saturn and Jupiter, they define our physical reality, what career we are in, what line we are in, what is our authority in life. That changes, and some amount of responsibility, great amount of responsibility is added when Saturn comes in our sign. Usually that responsibility comes in form of us upgrading our authority in our career as well as in our personal life, taking a leap from past identity to a new one, a whole sense of what's ahead of you over the course of next 29 years. There's a preview of that which is created in the year that Saturn first touches your sign, which was 2021. 2021 is the year when you might have seeded a new identity, seeded a new expansion path, or at least looked at and evaluated what kind of future growth you're looking for. And as Saturn, your ruler, was also retrograde since about May, you might have been working on some amount of restructuring when it comes to your life path, as well as your boundaries when it comes to your partnerships and relationships over the course of last couple of months. This is the new rule book of your life that you have been writing. New rule book of what kind of authority you want to be, both in your personal life as well as your professional life. You are freeing yourself from an old karma, from an old chain, from an old path, and a new life which is going to be born over the course of next 2 years is taking shape. 2021 was, in my view, the seeding year. We spoke of this in immense detail in the 2021 video that I did, the full year video I did for your sign, as well as the next 20 years of structural growth. What is the source of next 20 years of growth for you? Because Saturn Jupiter cycle defines the next 20 years for you in terms of how materially you would grow for the next 20 years, and you're seeding some part of that this year. Now that both Saturn and Jupiter are direct, and Jupiter now has 2 months left in your sign all the way till December, you have to leverage that period to open the paths which were blocked so far. If you were seeking some amount of support when it comes to a career change, or you were looking to expand your career in some ways, having gone through this process of last 4 or 5 months of questioning whether this is the life path or not, whether this is the direction I want to grow in or not, now is the time to bring all of that to life. Jupiter is turning direct at around 22 degree of Aquarius, which is going to strongly influence around 22 degree to 30 degree of Aquarius now till the end of the year, which is around 12th of February born all the way till end of Aquarius. These are the degrees that Jupiter is now walking for the 3rd time. So you have gone through some amount of reconsideration on which way to grow and what kind of support you need for growing in the way you want to grow. And now is the time to get that support. And you'll find that with Jupiter going direct, all the changes that you were trying to do in your career, if the support for that was lacking, now you start seeing support and growth and progress in that direction. Saturn will be, though, in your sign all the way till March of 2023. That is a longer transit. Saturn is only right now done with around 6 to 13 degree of Aquarius. So only the early degree Aquarius have experienced that. It has turned direct around 7 degree of Aquarius. So around 28th of January born Aquarius sun would be very strongly, in my view, feeling that there is a new structure of your life that needs to be given birth to. And you'll find that pressure in some ways created over the course of next couple of days, especially around 30th of October and 10th of November. Some amount of pressure would be created around 30th of October and 10th of November, especially for 7 degree of Aquarius, which is around 28th of January born. Sometimes this is a conflict with an authority, or sometimes there is a giving away to an old part of our life. The more we cling to the old part, the old self-image in this new transition to your new career life and new professional life, you'll find that the more you'll have to fight against that. Then that fight will become very evident, either with a fight from an authority figure or some authority of your life that you'll fight with, in my view, or there could be a conflict with somebody, or we can feel under the thumb of somebody and we are finally pushed in some way to become the authority of our own life. When Saturn comes in our sign, we have to own our life. We have to become the authority of our own life. And that journey sometimes requires us to go through a transition in our relationships professionally and personally. Last 14 years have been all about the others so far. When Saturn was transiting the top of your chart, now its next 14 years are about you. They are about changing you versus trying to change the others, changing your own core strength within yourself as well as your values, and see how the world around you changes as a result of that. Even though it's a renewal, we can physically feel very tired with the cycle. The more we will be pushed in some ways, the more physically we'll need more vitality. And you'll find that this conflict which happens on 30th of October, 10th of November, you'll need a physical outlet, in my view, for that. Keeping physically well becomes much more important when Saturn is transiting our sign, because every weakness, not just in our psyche, but physically, Saturn highlights to us. We would see true strength come out, both physically as well as in how we handle our relationship, through a pressure that is created. And the pressure is being created, so if there's anything fake we are carrying on when it comes to our career, that gets dislodged from your life. So you'll find that as a precursor to that new moon of 4th of November, which is in your career, you'll have a pressure situation created. So the choice you make on 4th of November is much more you, is much more authentic versus driven by your old persona and old safety net in some ways. And as I said, this pressure would be very strongly felt around 7 degree of Aquarius, which is around 28th of January born. So that's what I have for you. Hope this was helpful. I hope you can use it for long term. I'll see you in the next video now, in the next reading now. Do refer to the 2021 video and the Saturn video that I did for your sign, because that is a very critical transit for you for the next 2.5 years. And it is currently must be felt very strongly, as Saturn has just turned direct and Jupiter is about to turn direct as well. Good luck for that. I'll see you in the next reading now. Thank you.